Steven Ruderman here with your Insomniac Lunatic Friends Giants postgame show at 11:17 p.m. Giants came into tonight having lost three straight. I think blowing the 4-1 lead to the Dodgers Saturday night, only to end up losing 13-7, took the wind out of their sails. After Saturday, they only scored 3 runs in their last 2 games. They scored 2 runs against the Dodgers on Sunday, and then they scored just a run in the series opener at Chase Field last night. Tonight, the Giants were looking to avoid their 4th straight loss. The Mets, who snapped their 8-game losing streak on a Pete Alonso walk-off 3-run home run Sunday, they exploded for 8 runs against the Mets tonight. 5 runs in the bottom of the first inning. They won 8-3. So the Giants really needed a win. As Kyle Foster says, they're officially done. I hate that they teased us. Oh, they teased us. I'm not going to say they're done, but I would say it's definitely not looking very good. So what happened was, you want the Giants to get some runs in the first inning. Make a statement. Elliot Ramos leads off the game with a double into the gap in left center field. Just basically a P-rod out to the bottom of the wall in left center. Rafael Devers lines a base hit to right. Willy Adames, he pops out to foul territory to the first baseman in foul territory. And then Matt Chapman comes up. He gets to 2 strike. He ends up hitting a sacrifice fly to right. That gets the first run of the game in. Now, the one thing the Giants have consistently done all season is fight off 2 strike at bats. And with Wilmer Flores at the plate, he lined a base hit to right field. That scored Devers to make it 2-0. Casey Schmidt fought off a 2-strike pitch. He hit a base hit. Gerard Encarnacion, he fights off a 2-strike pitch. He gets a base hit. He knocks in a pair of runs. It's a double down the right field line. And the Giants have a 4 spot, but the Giants' big Achilles heel, their pitching reared its ugly head. Tristan Beck was really the opener tonight. He was starting to go a little south in the bottom of the first after he struck out Geraldo Perdomo on a pitch in the dirt, only to have it hit the dirt and get away and have Perdomo reach. He immediately got a ground ball double play off the bat of Ketel Marte and got out of the inning. But then in the second, he imploded. So Gabriel Moreno at the plate, 2 strike count. He makes just a nasty pitch, sweeper over the inner half. Moreno fouls it back. Then throws another nasty sweeper. Moreno, you just have to tip your cap. He beats it, lines a double down the left field line. And I'm just going to be honest here. Tristan Beck went full Jonathan Sanchez. He just melted down. Like Jonathan Sanchez would take a perfect game into the 4th. He would take a perfect game into the 4th, throw a nasty 2-2 pitch, not get the call, walk the guy, throw a wild pitch, and give up a 5 spot. I mean, this guy pretty much went full Jonathan Sanchez here. Blaze Alexander got a base hit to right, and then Adrian Del Castillo hit a home run to right. Just like that, it's 4-3, and it's like, this is not good. And Bob Melvin, as you said, Kyle, he just left Beck out there way too long. Melvin does not know how to manage a bullpen. That was one of the things Sam Lubman warned me about. And we saw it tonight. Now, the Giants would get 1 run back on a line drive home run from Wilmer Flores out to left center field. You know what was weird? The ball was jumping off the bat early in the game, despite the fact that the roof was closed, but it wasn't late in the game. Beck ended up going 3 innings. Trevor McDonald, who I think was just called up today, Keaton Wynn was sent down. He throws a 1-2-3 bottom of the 4th. Bottom of the 5th, McDonald's back out, and the Diamondbacks tie it. Base hit by Ketel Marte, Tanaka and Eldemaro Vargas, and then Corbin Carroll at the base hit, Tanaka and Perdomo. That ties it. The Giants would then face a big jam in the bottom of the 7th inning. Jose Budo was into the game. Ketel Marte led off with a double. Corbin Carroll singled him over to third. Diamondbacks had runners at first and third with nobody out, but Gabriel Moreno lined out to third, and then we had a weird play where Blaze Alexander had a ground ball to first, and I thought Wilmer had stepped on the bag, but he didn't, so he threw home to try and nab Marte at the plate, which they did. And then Jordan Lawler, and this is something we went over at umpire school. He hit a ground ball over to the right side. Wilmer Flores went over to get it. But because Blaze Alexander, the runner at first, had impeded Wilmer's ability to field the ground ball, he was called out for interference. Both the second base umpire, John Bacon, and the first base umpire, Dan Rizzo, were right on it, did a great job calling it. You know, if you're the runner, you have to get out of the way. You have to allow the fielder to be able to field the ball. He did not do that, and thus he was out for interference. Great call. The Giants were then in another jam in the bottom of the 8th inning, and the Diamondbacks had 2 runners on in the bottom of the 8th. But Ryan Walker came in for Budo, hit Perdomo, and then he was able to get Ketel Marte to ground out to end the inning. Top of the 9th, Andrew Saalfranken for Arizona, Jung-Hoo Lee at the plate. Well, guess what happened? Jung-Hoo Lee, with 2 outs, nobody on, it's a ground ball down the first base line. Lee thought it was foul and just stood there in the batter's box like a statue. Well, it was fair. Vargas fielded it and stepped on the bag. And from that moment, that's when I knew they were going to lose the game. So Walker's back out for the 9th. It has been a very, very rough season for Ryan Walker. Earned the closer's job late last year, came into this year as the closer, had that horrible week in April and lost the closer's job. And it was quickly turning into a lost season for Walker, but he had a much better second half. He got the closer's job back. Then he blew the 2-0 lead in St. Louis back on the 6th, which he didn't even get an out in the bottom of the 9th. Tonight, Corbin Carroll, base hit to center. Gabriel Moreno walked. Blaze Alexander laid down a bunt to move the runners over to second and third. And the throw to first was offline. Pulled him off the bag. Bases were loaded for Jordan Lawler. He hits a little tapper right side in between the mound and the first base line. Walker can't get it. Casey Schmidt charges, tries to nab Carroll at the plate. Or no, it was Wilmer, I beg your pardon. Wilmer charges, tries to nab Carroll at the plate. To no avail. Carroll scores, and the Diamondbacks win. Big win for the Diamondbacks, and just an absolute savage loss for the Giants. 4 losses in a row, 2 of them in which they led by 3 or more runs. They led 4-1 early Saturday. They led 4-0 tonight. And Ryan Walker, again, could not get an out in the bottom of the 9th. And then Walker went in and threw his glove in the dugout. He was pissed off. And so you're looking at it. It's not like it's over because they're 3 back with 11 to go. Technically, anything can happen. But watching this game, they very well may be done. Diamondbacks are suddenly playing good baseball. They're staring down the barrel. The Giants are staring down the barrel of a 4-game series in LA. The Mets seem to be motivated after Alonso ended the losing streak with his 3-run bomb. If the Mets get hot, the Giants are done. And now we're at the point with how bipolar the Giants have been this season. Kyle, you know as well as anyone that the big theme this season has been 500 teams getting red hot to get well over 500, collapsing to get well under 500, only to get hot again and get back over 500. We've seen the Giants. We've seen the Diamondbacks. We've seen the Rangers. We've seen the Reds. We've seen the Red Sox do it. And teams like the Red Sox are going to go to the playoffs, barring some collapse in the final 10 days or 11 days. Or actually, no, 12 days. You know, the Giants were 7 games under 500 just 3.5 weeks ago. The Diamondbacks were 8 games under 500 at the end of July. And now they're 2 over. And they're just a game and a half back of the Mets for the third wild card. I feel like the Mets will hang on and get in there, but it could be a very interesting race as the final just under 2 weeks of the season unfold. But the Giants are now 3 back with 11 to go after what was a brutal, brutal loss. I mean, that was brutal. They got the 4 runs in the first inning, the big statement after 3 straight losses, and after scoring only 3 runs in their previous 2 games, only to blow it and lose the way they did in the bottom of the 9th with Ryan Walker for the second time in the last 11 days, being unable to get an out in the bottom of the ninth inning. Now, the difference was the one on the sixth in St. Louis was a save situation with the Giants ahead. The one tonight was him in the game with in a tied game. You can take a look at the standings now. The Mets at 78 and 73, Diamondbacks 77 and 75. The Reds and the Giants are 75 and 76. The Giants hold the tiebreaker over the Reds. They went 4 and 2 against the Reds this season. And but the Giants have now lost the season series to the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks have now won 7 games. They are 7 and 5 against the Giants. The Giants already went 2 and 4 against the Mets. So the Diamondbacks and the Mets now officially hold tiebreakers over the Giants, as do the Padres. But that's not going to happen. The Giants are 7 games behind the Padres. The Padres' magic number to finish ahead of the Giants is 4. And by the way, the Cubs are about to clinch a playoff spot. Their magic number is 1. They must have had a losing record to the Diamondbacks. The Cubs get in. It'll be their first postseason appearance in 5 years and their first full season postseason appearance in 7 years, since 2018. So you take a look, see at the American League standings. The Astros have beaten the Rangers, who have now lost 3 straight. They were 9 games over. Now they're 6 over, and they're 3.5 back of the Red Sox. Guardians have won 5 straight, and who knows, maybe they will overtake Boston. It'll be interesting to see. Boston lost tonight to the A's of all teams. The Mariners are now a half game ahead of the Astros in the American League West. And they actually could catch up with the Tigers, who they had that really bad slump around the All-Star break and have never truly recovered and have not really played the kind of kick-ass baseball. They're not kicking ass the way they did in the first half. Blue Jays, of course, still have the best record in the American League. They have a 5-game lead over the Yankees. But the show, we can talk about other pennant races in baseball, but this show is mainly about the Giants. They are 3 games back with 11 to go. Kyle says, Budo has previous starting experience. Why not use him as an opener instead of Beck? Good question. I just knew, when the Giants scored the 4 runs, it's like, okay, Tristan Beck's on the mound. Gonna have to hold our breath here. And I mean, I feel bad for the guy, but let's not kid ourselves. He went full Jonathan Sanchez in the bottom of the second inning. Threw 2 great sweepers over the inner half, just got beat. It happens. Guys can make a 2-strike adjustment and beat a great pitch. That's what Gabriel Moreno did. You just have to tip your cap. And unfortunately, Beck couldn't. As I said, he went full Jonathan Sanchez. Kyle said Beck is really a good swing guy. Yeah, like in the 5th inning. Absolutely. And he started missing, and he wasn't even close. And was getting hit around. It was just a bad inning. And it's like, okay, this is going to be a tight game. And I just had a bad feeling in the second inning. And I had a bad feeling throughout the game, but I knew after Lee grounded out, thinking he had hit a foul ball, I knew we were going to lose. And again, remember back in 2008, we used to see Eugenio Velez make these mistakes every single night. These embarrassing rookie mistakes, and it was every single game. And by the way, I believe Eugenio Velez became a gun runner and is now in prison in the Dominican Republic, or is at least in some sort of legal trouble down there. We now see this from even veterans every single night, these kind of rookie mistakes. And we saw it tonight from Jung-Hoo Lee. That is unacceptable. That's the kind of thing where if Billy Martin was the manager, there would be someone new in center field in the bottom of the 9th inning. Billy Martin would pull him right there and then. And Velez is in prison. Has been in prison for almost 3 years, serving a 10-year sentence. Okay, Eugenio Velez is in prison. Good to confirm that, I guess. But you see those kind of mistakes every night, and when that happened with Jung Hoo Lee, I knew the game was over. And then for them to lose the way they did in the ninth, in the bottom of the ninth, with Ryan Walker not even being able to get a single guy out, I would say their chances of making the playoffs are probably somewhere around 10 to 15%. That's generous. I'll say 9%, because you never know. The Giants still have the easiest schedule. And I'm not trying to be a cheerleader. I doubt they're going to the playoffs at this point, but you never know. Baseball's a weird game, and this has been a very weird baseball season. Win tomorrow, get back to 500, get a split in LA. You're at 500, but the one thing I'm going to say, the Giants will need to be, most likely no more than 2 back, definitely no more than 3 back of the Mets after the road trip ends Sunday when they come back home for the final week of the season. They will have to be no more than 2 or 3 back. If it's 3 back, that's going to probably still be a stretch. But let's say they win tomorrow and they split in LA, or who knows with this team and how crazy it's been. Maybe they win tomorrow, take 3 or 4 in LA. But let's say they win tomorrow and split in LA. They're at 500. They could go 5-1 in the final homestand. But again, the Giants would have to beat out the Mets. And if they went, say, 5-1 in the final homestand, finished 83-79, the Mets would have to finish 82-80. Now, again, the Mets have a harder schedule, but they just won the first game of a series against the Padres. And as Kyle said, it's weird. He says the last wild card is the battle of who could be less mediocre than the other mediocre teams. It's interesting. At the beginning of the season, it was looking like this would be the strongest National League in the wild card era. Though I'd say probably that honor goes to 2018. And now it has become a very weak National League in which you may only have 6 teams in the National League finish over 500. Another weird twist to this weird season. A lot of weird seasons just throughout baseball. In my life, like the weird seasons have been 2005, 2006, 2010, 2014, 2018, but really in the last 8 years, 2018, 2019, 20, and 21 were all weird. 23 was a weird season, and this year, 2025 has been a weird season. I enjoy weird seasons. I really, really do. But the Mets are now 5 games over 500. The Giants have put themselves in a hole to where if they go 8-3 in their final 11 games, the Mets would have to go 4-7, which is not completely out of the question. And Kyle said weird seasons are ones for the history books. Yep. It wouldn't be out of the question, but I think right now that's taller. So if they go 8-3, which they're going to have to go 8-3 the rest of the year to even have a chance. That would mean winning tomorrow, splitting with the Dodgers, and going 5-1 on the homestand, which is doable with the Rockies coming in for 3 to end the season. But tomorrow is truly a must-win game. They have to win tomorrow. And I wouldn't be surprised if they just show up completely flat and out of it. It's where they were able to get over 2 tough losses in St. Louis, but a little similar to the 2022 Giants. They just can't get over a tough loss. Not as bad as 2022. Like in 2022, whenever the Giants lost a game late that they were leading, like they'd go into an immediate tailspin. This year hasn't been as bad, but we've seen it happen a few times. After the tough loss against the Dodgers back on July 13th to close out the first half, they just collapsed. They had the tough loss just this Saturday against the Dodgers, blowing the 4-1 lead and losing 13-7. That knocked the wind out of their sails. They only scored 3 runs in their next 2 games, and then they have the savage loss. And again, I will emphasize, this was a savage loss. And I didn't see any of the player interviews, but seeing Bob Melvin interviewed in his office, that was a completely deflating loss, and they might show up tomorrow completely deflated. And Kyle said the issue is the Giants also have to worry about Cincinnati, Arizona, and the Mets now when talking about records to end the season. As I mentioned, the Giants hold the tiebreakers. We'll get another look-see at the wildcard standings. The Giants hold the tiebreaker over the Reds, but the Mets and Diamondbacks both officially now hold the tiebreakers over the Giants. The Diamondbacks win tonight, as I said, officially clinches the season series. They're 7-5 against the Giants with their final game coming tomorrow night. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I think the Mets hold on. The Diamondbacks have been very similar to the Giants in the last month plus, but I just don't see the Diamondbacks getting in. I think the Mets are going to pull this out. They'll probably win with 83 or 84. Let's see who holds the tiebreaker with the Mets and the Diamondbacks. It's a tie, 3-3, which means it goes to intra-divisional records, and I'm not going to try and calculate all that right now, though maybe I could find that on the standings. Let's see. Mets are 23-23 against their division. Oh, the Diamondbacks would most likely. They're 25-20, though the Diamondbacks are going to have the hardest schedule. They host the Phillies over the weekend, and then they go to LA and San Diego to end their seasons. Now, the good news for the Diamondbacks is the Dodgers and the Padres, and even the Phillies, they will have clinched postseason spots. And it's definitely possible in the final weekend in San Diego that the Padres are going to be more focused on the wild card series than trying to stop the Diamondbacks. Because essentially the Dodgers and the Padres, and I lied, they host the Dodgers. They don't go to LA. They host the Dodgers, and then they go to San Diego. The Dodgers will be battling it out for the West, so they might prove to be problematic, but they go into San Diego, good chance the Dodgers will have the West wrapped up. Now, the good news is the Phillies beat them again tonight, but the Padres lost to the Mets, so they're 2 back of the Dodgers. Yeah, so that Mets win was a double whammy because we want the Padres to win the West. They're 2 back with 11 to go, and the Dodgers won the season series, so the Padres will have to gain 3 games over the Dodgers in the final 11. Doable. But come the final weekend when the Padres are playing the Diamondbacks, they're going to probably be more focused on the wild card series than they are going to be on trying to spoil the Diamondbacks. I think at the end of the day, I think the Mets will get it. They'll win 83 to 85 games and get it. And they have a much easier schedule than the Diamondbacks. They host the Nationals for 3 this weekend. And they do go to Wrigley next week, but then they finish in Miami. So I think the Mets, they're my favorite, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe the Giants will give us one last hurrah. Maybe they'll win one tomorrow. If they win tomorrow and split against the Dodgers, then they have a chance. But they have to win 3 of their next 5. And that would get them at 500. And with the Mets playing better baseball and the Mets playing the Nationals this weekend, even 500 ball may not be enough. So the finale of the series tomorrow, another night game, 6:40 start. Justin Verlander, he's been pitching a lot better. By the way, he may be 3-10, but his ERA is down to 3.94. He's had a really solid second half. He's a big game pitcher. He'll be up against Brandon Pfaadt. He's 13-8 with a 5.31 ERA. Actually, I lied. It's a day game tomorrow. It is a day game tomorrow. For whatever reason, I had thought it was a night game. 12:40 will be the first pitch in what is truly a must-win game for the Giants. For Kyle Foster and my boss, Lee Leonard at Sports Radio Service, because the Insomniac Lunatic Fringe is a production of Sports Radio Service, I'm Stephen Ruderman. Hope you enjoyed this Insomniac Lunatic Fringe Giants post-game show. Brutal loss tonight. Giants below 4-0 lead and lose 6-5 to the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're now 3 games back of the Mets and have to gain 4 on the Mets over their final 11 games. And as Kyle said, the only thing the Giants can do is win and apply pressure to the teams ahead of them. Have a good night, folks. We'll talk soon.